Good evening and welcome to Have I Got News For You? I'm Alistair McGowan. In the news this week, at the new Wembley Stadium, workers are informed that the project is now officially 5 years behind schedule. There are fears that Britain's yob culture is getting out of control as the latest youth gang to be given ASBOs waits outside court. And after successful laser eye surgery, the family have a lovely treat in store for Kate Moss's gran. On the Ian Hislop's team is a Tory MP who earlier this month told the Sunday Telegraph the Conservatives are a political party. We've got to get votes. Nothing gets past him, does it? Please welcome Duncan MP. And with Paul Merton tonight, the highest-paid woman on television, pro rata per minute, who walks for at least a mile when she gets up every morning. That's a hell of a bathroom in anyone's book. Please welcome Fern Britton. And we start, unsurprisingly, with round one. Ian and Alan, stand by your beds.
Well, that's the British Army, the remains of it. One tank. Oh, that's the soldier.
This is our dear leader, Kim Blair.
That's the rest of the army. It's a tank and a gun.
Ah, the baker.
Yes, James Baker.
And the candlestick maker. Look, here we go.
I was going to say the butcher. This is a top story.
Top General.
Top General, who said, well, he stated the obvious, which is a thing you're not meant to do in this country. And he said the war's not going very well, and perhaps we should stop and go home. And Tony Blair said, that's what I've been saying all along.
No, didn't he say? And it's marvellous, Prime Minister. It's all OK, you know.
Do we know his name, this general?
Sir
Rupert Dannant.
Richard.
Richard?
Dannant.
You're right.
Yes, don't worry about it. Detail, it's an MP's thing. Normally in this country, the leader of the opposition opposes the government, but we don't have that anymore. We have generals. And they come out and say, it's time to go. What do you think? You lot are still behind the war, aren't you?
We've always had our doubts about what would follow. We were very honest about
Are these recorded, these doubts, anywhere?
I managed to change all the records in Hansard of my speeches, you see. Yes. Although we did, actually, we did. I used to say, what's going to happen? You know, humanitarian aid. Do you remember Claire Short? She was in denial.
Right, but didn't your leader support the war?
Which is not a river, you know. Right.
No. Thank you for that, Graham.
Stick to the impressions, I think.
Yeah.
Has he been doing impressions?
Doing a very bad impression of a Tory MP.
I'm doing a very bad impression of myself, actually.
So this is Richard Dannant. He was 22, did you know? He was 22 when he got the military cross. Do you know how he got the military cross?
It was breaking, wasn't it? Local museum.
Yeah, he poked him in the eye as well.
Yeah.
That's a Maltese cross, though, isn't it?
Oh, right. Oh,
yeah, how do you make a Maltese cross? Poke him in the eye.
No, you don't poke him in the eye. That's how you make a Venetian blind.
Oh, so I've got it wrong?
Yeah, you've got it wrong.
Oh, blimey.
The general said we should concentrate on Afghanistan, where we're having some success. Tony Blair said in response, as you said, British forces will not walk away from Iraq. Well, I suppose the lucky ones will. Obviously it works better with the voice. If only I could do Tony Blair. There's no money in it. The Daily Mail's Sarah Sands got the scoop interview with the General Dannant. How come he was allowed to speak to a reporter at all?
Oh, he got permission. He asked the Secretary of State for Defence if he could do an interview.
Yes, no, the Ministry of Defence actually received a request for the interview from Sarah Sands of the Daily Mail, and they agreed because it was one of the least exciting offers they'd had.
But, you know, there's a lot of worries at home for Tony. Don't know what they are, but,
Something on Blue Peter, that's difficult.
Blue Peter, yeah. The tough questions. So, Prime Minister, what's your favourite colour? Don't know.
Brown?
What signs have the Americans given of wavering over Iraq?
Well, that's presumably linked with Baker, who's a former Secretary of State, and
Yes.
often described as a Bush family friend. It's a bit of a shock to think there is one. Anyway, he says that staying the course is no longer an option. So even the Bush camp is saying it's time to think about withdrawing.
The US Congress have ordered a commission to consider changes to US policy under James Baker. What is the controversial view of this commission?
Get the Taliban to police Iraq. And the Iraqi insurgents to police Afghanistan. And run away.
Is there a general feeling within the United Nations now it's time to let Eamon Holmes sort it out?
Firstly, what I reckon they should do is they should get the FA to sort it out. They should get two old footballers, like Trevor Brooking, for instance, and Peter Beardsley, to do a big draw, swap it all around a bit. What's his number 3 here? Was that? Let's see, Sonny Iraqi, dangerous. Peter?
They're going to fight number 18. That's the Irish Catholics. Yeah.
That's what they should do. But no, this is the Iraq question, the question being, what the hell are we still doing in Iraq? Former US Secretary of State James Baker is preparing a report on American policy in Iraq. It's expected to be fairly critical, but one insider predicted Baker is not going to say or do anything that will embarrass the president. Yeah, I think the president's got that pretty much covered himself. Paul and Fern, here's yours.
Oh,
Madonna in Africa to adopt a child.
yes, Malawi, to find baby David.
And what's the view on the this morning sofa about all this?
Well, the view was, is it right that a superstar, multi-wealthy person can fly in and buy a baby and escape? Which is not what she did, but is what is perceived as having done.
Oh, don't sit on the fence, Fern. Tell us.
Well, and I think that's what people think has happened. She strolled in, had a couple of days, asked apparently to have several... Sorry, am I boring you?
Yes.
She asked to have a few boys picked out for her, like having personal shopping service. I'd like some boys picked out for me, and then I'll choose one. And she did, and she got baby David.
And Alan, the view from the Tory front bench?
Yes.
Was that Prince Philip?
I don't know who he's doing this. when you can't do the voice, it's always helped to say the name near the beginning. Alistair will tell you that.
It was just a general sort of...
It wasn't impression. You asked him to come up with some sort of formulation on a matter of policy, and he's a Tory. It's not going to do it. Totally unfair. I'm interested in this new definition of orphan, which is a person with a father who sees it once a week.
Who travelled from Malawi with David the baby, according to The Independent?
Nanny Siobhan, spelt a very odd way. Like S-H-A-W-E-E-N or something.
That's a hell of a way to spell nanny, isn't it? What are these people thinking of? The kid's in dangerous hands. There'll never be any good on Countdown.
It was indeed the nanny, and a bodyguard and a stylist travelled back with baby David, yes, apparently. She's reported to have raged to her husband, "I can't do anything privately." Not even raging at her husband, apparently. There are worries that the baby will find it difficult having a celebrity mother, but in many ways Madonna is a typical British mum. She lives on a large estate, goes round in a tracksuit, and has 3 kids from 3 different fathers. And so to round 2. It's the picture spin quiz. Fingers on buzzers, please, teams.
This is evolution. We're all getting taller. In 2,000 years, we'll be 6'6", and we'll live to be 120, according to some bloke in the paper.
But go a bit further into the picture, and there's a sort of Ian picture.
You're right, the chap in the middle, he's awfully good. Thanks, Alan. The other part of his research is that the sort of alpha human beings are going to turn into tall, thin, lean, very clever people, and there's going to be an underclass of very small people who eat burgers.
2 different classes. One of them will be goblin-like, he said, apparently. Very short and grubby, but don't worry, I'm sure there'll be laws to protect you both. Do we know, between us, which august body commissioned this report?
Was it the Tall People's Sneery Propaganda Unit?
Was it the Ask a Scientist to make something up that nobody can possibly prove one way or the other group?
It was, in fact, the Bravo TV channel. Bravo's director of programmes said, "It's amazing to think that in just 1,000 years, everything will be so different." Although I expect Bravo will still be shit. This is one expert's vision of what mankind will look like in 1,000 years' time. At first, the Telegraph was going to get a graphic artist to mock it up, but in the end, they just took a photo of the 5 items or less queue at the Plymouth Tesco. If you're wondering, as I'm sure you are, how the Daily Star managed to interest its readers in a story about evolutionary genetics, well, here's their opening sentence. Women of the future will have perfect breasts. So, team, stand by if you will, fingers on buzzers.
It's gotta be David Blunkett saying, shoot those prisoners. That's what I reckon it is. Prison riots, dagga, 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 dagga.
Who said this? Martin Neary, the man who used to be involved in the prison service. And like most public servants, he doesn't say much until Blunkett wrote in his diaries, there were riots in this prison, everyone was losing their head. Thank goodness one man remained calm and brilliant, me. That's the account in the diaries. Martin Neary said, no, I didn't, I rang you up. You were in a curry house, and you said, machine gun, all of them! Which is a slightly different version of events. So you've got Blunkett, calm, magisterial, the man in charge, or screaming idiot who's lost the plot. I'll go for that one.
Did anyone see what the former Metropolitan Commissioner John Stevens said about David Blunkett this month?
He's a bleeding madman. People like him should be locked up.
And then machine gunned.
Yeah.
It's very close.
Is it?
He said, be wary of him and never go to see him alone. Always take a witness. He is a bully and a liar. Didn't make many friends, did he, really? And in a fresh Home Office blunder, it's emerged this week that 2 suspected terrorists have gone on the run. John Reid took decisive action. He immediately issued another picture of himself posing behind a desk with his sleeves rolled up.
The great thing about those prisoners is he said that he can't reveal their identity. So they're pictures of them saying, these are dangerous men on the run, watch out, and their faces pixelated out. So watch out for people with pixelated faces.
Next picture.
People who want to enter Oxford or Cambridge are asked various questions, you know, like what exams have you got, who was your father, that sort of thing. And,
do you know exactly what cow-related questions students were asked?
how many cows can you stuff inside a basketball? It's funny when you know the answer, isn't it? But not before that.
The question was, what percentage of the world's water is contained in a cow?
In one cow? Milked or unmilked?
Even asking that would have got you in.
Is it too late to join?
Here are some of the others. Why don't we have just one ear in the middle of our face?
That's a ridiculous question. Why, you know, why haven't we got a stepladder instead of a leg?
Yeah, because your glasses would fall off.
Yeah.
Yes.
I think you all have got in. I think you all have got in.
I did.
This was... That was the answer. One of the other questions they asked was, why can't you light a candle in a spaceship?
Got no matches. You can't take matches on board a spaceship. It's you know, dangerous property.
And obviously, if you had a candle, the wax would go on your helmet. You wouldn't be able to see anything. How would you get it off without an iron and some brown paper? You couldn't.
No.
Candidates for Oxbridge entrance, it seems, are being asked increasingly bizarre questions at their interviews. For example, at what point is a person dead? Well, once they've vaulted the barrier at the tube station looking a bit swarthy. Have I passed? It's a common misperception that students get hit by this kind of question as soon as they walk through the door, said one tutor, labouring under the misconception that misperception is a word.
If people say it enough, it becomes a word.
Let's make up a word now and see if everybody uses it. Pea gloss.
Pea gloss.
I've just painted my house in pea gloss.
How big's your house?
One of those Oxbridge questions. Enormous, oh, you're in.
I've never seen all of the inside.
OK, the word is pea gloss.
It's that stain you see on the underside of a Labrador. When it has a vitamin D deficiency.
It's actually pronounced peglos. It was part of a medieval knight's armour.
Ian, Peglos, over to you.
Pagloos. It's Albanian curry dish.
So, it's a stain on a Labrador? It's a medieval fighter's armour? Or Pagloos, it's an Albanian curry? I think it's a stain on a Labrador. Stain on a Labrador, Paul?
Yeah.
Oh. Fingers back on those buzzers, please.
The McCartney split.
Yes. You beat us,
A series of very, very unpleasant claims about Paul from Heather.
Yes.
Which she thinks makes him look bad, and we think make her look bad.
Yes.
And then I
He
suppose in the end
says-
we all think they both look ghastly.
Well, you know, you can't take sides. That's the trouble. You read this stuff and think, hang on a minute, I'm being manipulated now to take sides, and I don't want to take sides, actually. It's entirely between them.
And the papers.
And the
Which
papers.
is where they're conducting their divorce. I mean, the law court's obviously
Well,
too
well,
slow.
somebody is.
Cumbersome. Why don't we just do it in the sun? Good idea. Let's present both our sides of the stories and have a phone line. Who should get custody of the baby? You decide.
Let's give it to Madonna.
Rent it. Rent the baby from Madonna.
This is the bitter feud raging between Paul McCartney and Heather Mills McCartney. Considerate Daily Mirror agony aunt Miriam Stoppard urged the squabbling couple to think of their daughter. She'll cringe at the thought that you were prepared to wash your dirty linen in public, she said. While on the next page, the Mirror thoughtfully listed all those items of dirty linen in case we missed one. Writing in the Daily Mail, Piers Morgan favoured the balanced approach. I'm sorry, Macca, for introducing you to this monster. On a happier note, which celebrity couple are still making beautiful music together?
Jordan and Peter Andre.
Yes.
No.
Yes.
I made that up.
Did you? It was performed at their wedding last year. They performed, in fact, this duet called A Whole New World, and a whole new version is doing their rounds. Do you want to hear it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, I haven't spent a minute talking about...
100,000 things. I'm like a shooting star. I've come so far. I can't go back to where I used to be.
Yes, A Whole New World. Understandably, they've denied it is actually them singing. Round 3 is the odd one out round, just one between you this week. The Queen Mother, Sean Simon MP, Richard Madeley, and Alan Duncan MP.
This is an Ali G impression.
Yes.
The Queen Mother was known for doing an impression of Ali G. According to Prince Harry or Prince William, one of them said she did a very good impression of Ali G after she'd had a few. Richard Madeley did the Ali G impression on television, didn't he? Which
Famously,
famously,
yes.
he did that.
Yep. Sean Simon.
He was the... Yes, go on.
Well, he did an impression of David Cameron getting down with the youth.
Yeah.
And being cool.
Yeah.
Now, that chap...
You ever been down with
the
the youth? So I think it's this one here. I think it's the odd one out, because I think Alan's done an impression of Ali G as well. In fact, I'm sure he has, because it's the sort of thing that people do. Yes, the guy top right's the odd one out, because everybody else has done an impression of Ali G.
You're absolutely right. Yeah.
Oh.
Sean Simon didn't impersonate Ali G, but did impersonate David Cameron's weblog. Here it is.
Yo, my name's Dave, yeah? I've got my 2 kids. I like to get my kids in. I like my kids in the thing. I've got my 2 kids, kid 1, kid 2. You like them? Take one. It's cool.
That's meant to be an impression of Cameron.
Yeah.
That's appalling. That's worse than he'd do.
Why
I mean,
did you
the
do that?
original thing's much funnier. Dave Cameron washing up.
It's very exciting.
Yeah, he had cufflinks on, apparently. He was just doing the bowl.
What you can't see is his butler underneath the water holding the plate up.
His butler's called Peglos.
Is it?
Yes.
There we are, people, there we are.
Why did you do Ali G, Alan?
Well, it was a sort of MP's away day, and we did
Oh,
this
I
sort
wish
of...
they would.
Does it just have to be just a day?
Princes William and Harry revealed that the Queen Mother once did an Ali G impersonation. Do we know when that was that she did it?
3 o'clock, Christmas Day, when the Queen came on. Don't know what's this rubbish, watch me.
It was indeed. It was after Christmas lunch. And Prince William explained she stood up at the end of the table, clicked her fingers the way Ali G does, and said to the Queen, "Darling, lunch was marvellous. Respect."
When does the Queen start preparing Christmas lunch, do you think? Is she up at about 7:30, straining the sprouts? Or kissing Prince Philip, as it's known in royal circles?
Richard Mader's impersonation of Ali G on This Morning has been voted the most embarrassing moment in TV history. Of course, that was before Gordon Ramsay did this last week. Yes, they've all impersonated Ali G, apart from Labour MP Sean Simon, who recently impersonated David Cameron. And Whitcomb criticised his video. I wonder how Mr Simon managed to get the time to film this, when he should be busy representing his constituents, said the novelist, columnist and star of Celebrity Fit Club. On to the Missing Words round, which this week features as its guest publication the Shock and Vibration Digest. So here we go with Terry Wogan. Des is what?
Des is counted down and out.
That would have been nice.
Decrepit.
Des is decrepit.
Yes.
That's Des Lynam, of course, who's leaving Countdown. Channel 4 are looking for a livelier presenter than Des Lynam and still haven't ruled out a shock return for Richard Whiteley. Next, happy, sad, bored and even suicidal. A day in the life of what?
A Daily Mail reader.
No, it's got happy at the front.
That's before they open it.
Of Britain's bloggers.
Absolutely perfectly correct, yes, Britain's bloggers. This is the Day in History project in which thousands of people across Britain wrote an account of what they did on Tuesday, October the 17th, to create a mass blog. Here's my entry, in case you want to hear it. Got up, spent all day trying to think of something funny to say about mass blog story, failed, went to bed.
Better than Blunkett's diary. Got up, machine gun everyone. Went to bed, right again.
Tried to leave the house, walked into the cupboard by mistake, stayed there for 8 hours, too proud to admit my error.
Next, the advantage of the snap-through truss is what?
Regularly seen on Eamon Holmes.
Though it is a truss, it does snap right through.
The advantage of the snap-through truss is that it works over a wide frequency range.
Yeah.
Our sharper viewers will have already spotted that this is, in fact, from the April the 1st edition of the Digest. It is, of course, a joke. The advantage of the snap-through truss is that it works over a narrow frequency range. Oh, that's nice one, guys. You nearly had us there for a moment.
That's Richard Bailey, isn't it?
What, that?
Yeah, no, you did all that.
I'm not doing impressions tonight. Never mind, we'll move on. Next, Vera Lynn leads battle to save what?
Oh. Eamon Holmes. Post offices.
It is post offices. BBC Breakfast, in fact, attempted to cover the story about the threatened post office subsidies, but despite a valiant effort, the reporter couldn't quite keep his interest up.
And they say by Christmas a decision will be made and that new subsidy will be announced, but we have to expect, the speculation is at least, that it will be far, far less.
And how serious are the postmasters saying this is, then? Alex?
Sorry?
Next, gingerbread man gets what at Baker's?
Vasectomy. It's nearly true, because I think the story is they're having a makeover, so they become neutral. They're not meant to be gingerbread men anymore, they're gingerbread people.
You're right. A gingerbread man now has to be called a gingerbread person, would you believe? Unless the baker ices a little ginger cock on him. Next, research aims to estimate the size of the crack on what?
Gingerbread men.
It's not Pete Doherty's dressing table, is it?
Oh.
Very nice, very nice.
I like the idea that Pete Doherty's got a dressing table.
As opposed to do vaudeville now.
As opposed to a burnt-out crate somewhere in a corner.
It's a rotating beam, is what it is. This article is from September's Shock and Vibration Digest, their biggest-selling issue ever, after one of our researchers bought a copy. And finally, Otter discovered what?
In Eamon Holmes' bed.
Is it penicillin?
In central London, is the answer. According to the Telegraph, the young male otter was found dead on the riverbank at Wapping.
Oh, that's a terribly sad story.
It's a sad end.
I mean, you could have broken the news gently to us. You could have said, Eamon hasn't been seeing the otter for a while.
Do you know a ring of bright water?
Do I? I suffered it for 5 years.
It's all to do with your pea gloss, apparently.
So the final scores are Ian and Alan have 8, and Paul and Fern have 10.
Hey.
On which note, we say thank you to our panellists, Ian Hislop and Alan Duncan MP, Paul Merton and Fern Britton, and I leave you with news that in Iraq, an astonishing sequence of photographs shows Saddam Hussein in court, cleverly breaking the no smarties rule. There are red faces at the British Embassy in Washington as Margaret Beckett makes a surprise visit. And at David Beckham's birthday party, there's disappointment as he asks, "Is it a CD?" Good night.
Catherine Tate, Billy Piper, Michael Ball and Jack Dee are all spending Friday night with Jonathan Ross here on BBC One Wales. That's at 10:35.
Are you eating toffees, Hislop?
The answer is yes, and I go straight to Oxford.